Hello, welcome in the video number 2 on the topic Introduction to Analytical Chemistry. So in this video we are going to discuss mainly 2 points. The first one is sampling of solids and liquids and gases, and second point errors, which are of two types, determinate and indeterminate errors. So these are the 2 points we are going to discuss in this video number 2. So let's begin with the first point, that is sampling of solids, liquids and gases. So what is the meaning of sampling? Suppose huge amount of solids or liquids or gases materials are there, and we have to analyze these materials. So we have to first choose the material from its a different section. So we have to take these samples so that we can analyze these samples and we can make our opinion, or we can prepare a analytical report regarding this material. So sampling is very important step in the process of analytical chemistry, in which we carry out the analysis of that material. So what is this sampling? It is the process of extracting a small portion of material from its large quantity, which truly represents the composition of the whole material. The sampling should be done in such a way that there should not be any discrepancy, or there should not be any variation. If we pick up the sample from one portion of the material, and in another portion if the composition is found to be different, then we will get the different results. So this collection of sample from every portion of the material is essential. So that is called as a true sampling. Now sampling methods are of three types. The first method is whole material is studied. Whatever material we have, all that whole material is taken for study. So which is very tedious method, and it will require a large amount of chemicals and reagents. So if we want to use a particular material for on large scale in industries, so in that case it is not affordable. So whole material we cannot analyze, and this is not the good method. The second method is casual sampling on ad hoc basis. Casual means there is no seriousness, and ad hoc basis means it is the analysis is carried out on temporary basis. Suppose we have the material in large quantity, and for temporary basis, for supplying or for giving to other company, or for using for particular preparation, we can analyze that compound, that is on temporary basis. So this is again not the complete method of sampling, casual sampling on ad hoc basis. The third method is portions of the material are selected on the basis of statistical probabilities. So this is the portions of material are selected on the basis of statistical probabilities. So by considering the statistics, means how much quantity of material is available, it should be divided into some portions, and from every portion we have to take the samples, and we have to analyze these samples for its analysis. So after collecting all the analytical reports, we can make some conclusions regarding that material. So this is the reliable method of sampling. Portions of the material are selected on the basis of statistical probabilities. Now sampling of solids, liquids and gases. how the sample from solids, liquids and gases are collected. So if the material is in solid state, and if it is in homogeneous form, then it has no problem. We can take a sample from any portion as it is homogeneous, and we can analyze that solid homogeneous sample. But if the solid sample is heterogeneous, means if it is not in uniform, if it is not in uniform level, some part is homogeneous, some part is heterogeneous, or some part contains big crystals, then we require to grind such a material, or we have to make such a solid material homogeneous by any mechanical means, and then we can take the sample for analysis. So this is how we can get the sample from homogeneous and heterogeneous solid material. Now the sampling of liquids is done by stirring. Sampling of liquids is done by stirring or mixing of liquid and taken from various depths and from all locations. If we have large amount of liquid sample, then we have to stir that liquid sample, then we have to take from upper part, from middle part, from lower part, so as to get the uniform results. Then sampling of gases is usually done in glass devices that are fitted with stopcocks at both the ends. Contamination from previous samples are removed by flushing the container with the gas to be sampled. So generally the gases samples are collected in the glass devices which are fitted with stopcocks from both the ends, and before collecting the gas sample, that glass device should be made free from other or the earlier gases. So for that purpose, both the ends of the glass devices are open, then the material which is to be sampled, the gaseous material which is to be sampled, it is allowed to pass through that glass device. Then one end of the glass device is closed, again the gas sample is passed, and then the other end of the glass device is closed. This is how we can collect the gaseous material for analysis. Now the next point is errors. How, to what extent we can avoid the errors. Errors are always there, different types of errors are there, and because of errors we are getting the faulty results, and that gives the bad impression about the material. So ultimate aim of the analyst is to minimize errors and to get results near the true value. Analyst means the person who is analyzing the sample, the person who is doing the experimental work, that is called as analyst. So to get the good results, to get the accurate results, to get the results near to the true value means the value which is authentic one. Our results should be near the true value. Now how one can get up to the true values of the material? The average value of a series of measurements is considered as the most probable value. Suppose we are analyzing particular sample, its a solution is prepared and it is titrated against a standard solution. So we have taken first reading. Just by taking first reading we cannot say the whatever reading that we have obtained is correct one. So we have to repeat the readings and these readings or these measurements, we have to average these measurements, and this average value we have to compare with the true value, so or the probable value. So this is the general protocol or general way to analyze or to minimize the errors during analysis. It should be noted that average value may not be always true value. So after taking different readings, so generally we carry out one pilot reading and three other burette readings. Then by considering three burette readings, we take the constant burette reading, or we find out the average of these three readings. So this average reading may not be always near to the true value. So that may also gives the space to the errors. In some cases, the difference may be small or large that could not be acceptable. If we compare the average reading with the true reading or true value, we will find a slight difference or small difference, or we can obtain the large difference also. So to some extent the difference is allowed, but if that difference varies to large extent, then it is not acceptable. In short, the reliability of the results depends upon the magnitude of the difference between the average value and the true value. So to some extent there we can accept the difference between average value and the true value. Suppose the true value is 10 and our reading average true value is 9.8 or 10.2. So these average values can be considered or they are acceptable. But if the average value is 8 or 9, then because of large difference between average value and true value, these readings will not be acceptable. So error is defined as the actual difference between the true value and the experimental value in the same units. So that is important. So it is a simple one. The difference between true value and the average experimental value is nothing but the error. Suppose as I told you earlier, suppose the true value is 10, the expected reading or the ideal reading should be 10, but if our reading comes to be 9 or 8, then the error will be of 1 or 2 respectively. So this 1 or 2 is nothing but the error. Now if we are expressing, suppose particular titration we are carrying out and the standard reading should be 10 ml, and if we carry out the titration, the same experiment, and if the titration reading is found to be 8.5, then the difference between 10 and 8.5 is 1.5, and this is the error, that is 1.5 ml is the error in the reading of this titration. So this is called as error. Now there are different types of errors. Under types of errors, there are different types of errors. Errors may be of a determinate or systematic or constant type. Determinates means we can determine, or these errors are constant, or these errors are systematic one. Second, indeterminate errors. Third one is indeterminate errors or random errors, means which are uncertain, which are not controllable, So these such errors are called as indeterminate or random errors. The third one is measurement errors. Fourth one is gross errors, and other errors are also there. So out of these errors, these types of errors, in our syllabus only two types of errors that we are going to discuss. The first one is determinate and second one is indeterminate errors. Now let's begin with the determinate or constant or systematic errors. Now what is meant by determinate, constant or systematic errors? These errors are tangible, they are certain, and they are fixed and can be avoided, or magnitude of which can be determined or approximated, and the measurements can be corrected. These are the determinate errors. These are certain errors. These are fixed errors which we can avoid to some extent. We can correct these determinate errors. It may have the same value under various conditions and may remain constant from one measurement to another. If we take the readings for more than one time, and if we found the same error, then these errors will be considered as determinate errors. It is characterized by the fact that it ordinarily affects the results of series of determinations to the same degree. These determinate errors remains constant throughout the experiment. So whatever difference will be there in between true value and the experimental value, that difference remains constant throughout the experiment through same degree. These errors may be personal, instrumental and reagent, methodical, additive and proportional, or operational types. Determinate errors may be personal, instrumental and reagent type, methodical type, additive and proportional type, or operational types. Now let us discuss one by one. So the personal errors, these are due to person who is analyzing. This person is called as analyst. For example, if the person is unable to judge color in many chemical reactions, there is, when a reaction completes, there is a change in the color. So we have to identify at what stage that color gets changed. So if the person is unable to judge the color, then it will create the personal error. Errors in reading, if the person is having problem in reading the correct burette reading or the instrumental reading, then it will create the personal error. Carelessness, that is the personal error. Improper washing and ignition of precipitate. When we carry out the gravimetric estimation, when we carry out the mass determination experiments, in such cases, if we handle the precipitate improperly, means if we don't wash that precipitate carefully, if we don't ignite that precipitate properly, then it will create the personal error. Insufficient cooling may create the personal error. Errors in calculations. So after taking the readings, we have to calculate for getting the result. So if we do errors in calculation, that will be considered as the personal error. The second, instrumental and reagent errors. These are the errors caused by instrument and reagents. For example, faulty balances. If we use faulty balances for weighing purpose, then it will be a instrumental error. Incorrectly graduated glasswares. If we use incorrectly graduated glasswares, means suppose a particular glass container is marked for 250 ml, and when we add 250 ml, if it is not showing, if it is not up to that mark, that indicates that glassware is improperly graduated. So incorrectly graduated glasswares may cause instrumental error. Then attack of reagents on glassware. When we use the reagent in glasswares, and if that reagent acts on the glass, then it will create the reagent error. Use of impure reagents also causes the reagent errors. Then another type of errors are called as methodical errors. The methods which we employ, the method which we apply for analysis, if it has errors, then that error is considered as methodical error. So for example, incorrect method of sampling. If we use the incorrect method of sampling, then it will cause methodical error. Weighing of improper precipitate. The precipitate which is wet, which is not properly dried, if we take the weight of such precipitate and if it is mentioned in that method, so it will create the methodical error. Failure of reaction towards completion. Number 3, failure of reaction towards completion. If the method consisting of a particular reaction, and if that reaction is not going for completion, that will cause methodical error. Then fourth one, induced side reactions. If the method that we used consists of induced side reactions, then it will be considered as methodical error. The next type of error is additive and proportional errors. Absolute value of an additive error is independent on the constituents. The correct value of additive error is independent on the constituents. Whatever may be the constituents, the absolute error value of an additive error is independent on that constituent. Loss in weight of crucible in which precipitate is ignited and errors in weights are additive errors. So particularly this is carried out in gravimetric estimation. So in that case, loss in weight of crucible, we have to take the weight of empty crucible, then weight of crucible plus residue after first ignition, second ignition and third ignition, and if we compare the weights, then we find errors. So these errors will be considered as additive and proportional errors. These errors can be revealed by taking samples of different weights. So for gravimetric estimation, if we use 25 ml stock solution and if we carry out the experiment, then we will get particular results. So that result may not be near to the true value or may not be the correct result. Now to decide whether the result obtained from that experiment is correct or not, we have to take the two more samples. For example, first we have carried out the experiment by using 25 ml stock solution. Then again we have to carry out the another experiment by taking 30 ml stock solution. Then again 35 ml of stock solution and compare the results. If the results obtained are consistent, then we will get the readings near to the true value. But if we find the errors, then such errors will be called as additive and proportional errors. But here, by taking the stock solution at in different volumes for different experiments, we can minimize this additive and proportional errors. The next type of error is called as the next type of error is operational error, depends on the amount of the constituent. Operational errors depends on the amount of constituent, and it arises due to impurity in a standard substance and also due to ignition of the precipitates at lower temperature. So how we operate, how we handle the chemicals, or how we follow the experimental procedure, if it has some errors, then it will cause operational error, which depends upon the amount of constituent. So if we do not handle the sample, or the sample in which constituents are there, then it will create operational error. Operational errors are mostly physical in nature and occur when proper analytical technique is not used. So these are the operational errors are mostly physical in nature, and they occur if proper analytical technique is not used. For example, non-representative sampling. If our sampling is not proper, if we have taken sample from one portion only, and if we analyze that sample and we apply the reports to the whole material, that is not the correct one, and it will cause the operational errors. So non-representative, whatever sample we have taken, that should be the representative of the whole material. So non-representative sampling causes operational errors, and to avoid this, we have to take the samples from different portions of the material. Secondly, introduction of foreign material. So foreign material get added to the material, and that causes the operational error. Now the second type of, this is about the determinate errors. Now the second type of the errors are called as indeterminate errors. The errors which are uncertain, which we cannot control, these are considered as indeterminate errors. These are accidental errors over which analyst has no control. These are the accidental errors over which analyst has no control. These are revealed by small differences in the successive values of a measured quantity when the measurements are made by the same person. So these errors can be revealed by small differences in successive values of a measured quantity when the measurements are made by the same person. If the analyst is one, and if it takes the samples or readings of the samples successively, and if we find the small differences, then these errors can be revealed. These are divided into two classes. The first one is variations within determinate errors. So determinate errors, which are certain errors which we can manage, which we can correct. But if there is variation in such a determinate errors, then that type of error becomes indeterminate errors. The error caused due to load or some other cause is considered as indeterminate errors. So this is variations within the determinate errors. Change in temperature and variation in humidity in balance room are determinate errors which cannot be controlled. Suppose we are taking the weights of the sample or the precipitate in balance room, and if there is humidity, then that precipitate or sample will absorb the moisture and we will get the error. So in the change in temperature and variation, if there is temperature change or change in humidity in balance room, then determinate errors, these are the determinate errors. We can control change temperature as well as humidity, means we can manage these parameters, but change in temperature and variation in humidity in balance room are determinate errors which cannot be controlled during handling the samples or during weighing the samples. So that sample get exposed to some extent to the higher temperature or humidity, and we observe the indeterminate errors. The second type of indeterminate error is called as erratic errors. These are difficult to control and analyst has no control over these errors. Now, what sort of erratic errors are there? For example, weighing with sensitive balance subjected to vibrations. Here, the very sensitive balance, even if we use very sensitive balance, because of some vibration, that sensitive balance shows variations in the reading, and this causes erratic errors. And second, accidental loss of the material. Accidental loss of the material, if occurs, that results into the erratic errors. So this is about the 2 points. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Thank you very much.